巴勃罗·毕加索是20世纪最伟大的艺术家，也是立体派创始人。他一生创作了2万多件艺术品，职业生涯长达70年。直到今天，他仍然是全球拍卖收入最高的艺术家。不论是2015年以11亿人民币创下艺术品拍卖史上最高价的阿尔及尔女人，还是2021年以6.6亿人民币成交，重燃全球艺术拍卖的坐在窗边的女人，毕加索这个名字不仅代表着艺术品市场的黄金标杆，也象征着顶级藏家的终极梦想。如今巨作留存，传奇延续，但绝大多数人并不知道的是，毕加索还有另一个身份，那就是20世纪最具影响力的版画家。他的版画作品同样是技艺和创意的完美结合，不仅具有非凡的投资收藏价值，而且价格更为亲民。今天带你走进美国著名版画交易商 Szoke 先生位于纽约的画廊，从入门级、收藏级和投资级版画3个角度入手，选购最适合你的毕加索真迹。
Hi Joe, nice to see you.
My pleasure.
I know you established the Szoke Gallery in 1974.
Long time ago.
Yeah, with a specialization on prints by Pablo Picasso and Edward Munch.
Yes.
And today when people talk about prints and multiples, many people may think a print is a copy of an original. Of course, that's a huge misunderstanding. As one of the top experts on art prints, can you tell us what is a print and what kind of role art print is playing in today's art market as well as in art history?
Prints are on paper. Prints are multiples. Now, in today's age, they are very identical, but in the older times when they were printed one at a time by hand, it was each one specific artwork. Since the 16th or so century, printmaking is an important part of the art world.
I know you maintain a large collection of works by Pablo Picasso, but today we will just focus on 3 selected pieces that span the entirety of his artistic career and represent his most iconic creations. So where shall we start from?
We can start with an earlier work, from the earliest to the middle and the latest work.
Great.
This image is a picture of Marie-Thérèse, who was one of Picasso's major loves. He changed them every 10 years or so. But she's extremely important because she was early on in his life, and they remained friends for the rest of his life. And there was a tremendous difference in age. She was 17 when they met, and he was 46 or 47. But they were very close, and he depicted her all throughout the years with great love and great tenderness, as you can see it. This one has a very interesting history, because when he started to make this picture, she was looking to the right. But it just didn't look right. So he did it over and over and over again until he found the right balance. The print itself, the image itself, is on a metal plate. So when he makes the drawing on the plate directly with this technique, if he wants to make any changes, he has to undo what he did before and redo it again, which is not easy when you're talking about metal plates. He did this altogether 19 times until the 20th worked out. At the beginning, she looked this way, and then he kept on turning her until he got this frontal picture. And the picture is very abstract, as you see it, but it is still recognizable that this is Marie-Thérèse. I can see the tenderness and the love and his compassion in it.
The form is very beautiful, almost look like a sculpture.
Well, that's very good. The title is a sculptural head. And yes, he started to make sculptures when he was with Marie-Thérèse, and she is appearing in most of her sculptures, especially the way he resolved the nose here. You can always recognize her when you see a Picasso. If it's Marie-Thérèse, you can see that the nose starts at the head and comes down that way. We might see this later in our discussion.
I have to say I feel very lucky standing in front of this piece in person. I know this is Picasso's most notable and iconic graphic work in the 20th century, an investment-grade work of art. Can you tell us what's so special about this piece?
Well, I do want to support you in that. I think personally that this is Picasso's most important and best printed work, no question in my mind. Not that well known because there are only 15 impressions in existence. This is a mixture of Marie-Thérèse, which we've seen just before, and the next flame in Picasso's life, Dora Maar. You will see here the typical nose of Marie-Thérèse, and you will see here the typical nails of Dora Maar. This is, he was, in his personal life, was moving away from Marie-Thérèse, and he was seeing Dora Maar. So that's why the two features are coming up there. And you see the tremendous despair and hopelessness, but it's still his most important work, not only because it's a fantastic etching, but it's also because it's coming from really from the bottom of his heart. And he couldn't get his publisher Vollard to publish it because it was not that commercially acceptable, and so he published it himself. It's a very small edition of 15, and this is one of the 15, and most of them are dedicated to various people who he had given it. You see the woman being totally enveloped in the pain and in her destruction of her real life. Here he mostly used a direct method. He did draw these lines directly into the plate to get these wonderfully warm, rich lines and to get the fullest effect. It's very difficult to do it, and it's extremely effective because there is more texture, there is more tone to it if you do it this way. It is, as I said, it's very rare, it's very expensive. Most of the impressions are in museums.
I think for Picasso, this is a rare landmark work in his entire artistic career. And for collectors, only a privileged few had access to this masterpiece. The good news is that you know where to find it now. Innovations continued as evidenced by this one-block process devised by Picasso for color printing. Seeing here in this beautiful, striking lino cut of a still life with glass under the lamp.
Well, as we have seen before, it's mostly black and white work, yes. Although he did some color work, but it would not be as complex as this. And he had, late in life, around the age of 80, came up with this idea to make lino cuts, influenced by, to a great extent, as to where he was living in the south of France, where they didn't have presses, and local advertising was done by lino cut. So he starts with one color where the whole sheet is printed, and then he cuts the part which is not going to take the next color, and he prints that, and then he cuts the other part, and so on and so on. And so it's a fantastic system. This is a wonderful example because it's a very large one, it's a very lively one, it's a very colorful one. It's one of the best images, and he really didn't do that much still life. So one of the few still lives he did.
Yes, it's very rare to see Picasso's still life. This work is also in many of the world's famous museums' permanent collections, such as MoMA in New York and the British Museum in London.
Yes, this is very noticeable. It's quite often reproduced in catalogs because it's so beautiful and strong colors. Besides the beautiful imagery he did, he is also credited with the creation of this technique, which has been used by other people, but never the way he did it.
Yes. Thank you, John. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. My big pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.